Welcome back to Talking Shit, where we are talking all sorts of shit. Schitt's Creek, that is. I'm Jess Sterling, and we are talking about Schitt's Creek, Season 4, Episode 12, Singles Week. And of course, as always, I'm joined by someone who would never leave their phone anywhere they're not supposed to, and also loves Mariah Carey, and also so many other references I want to make, but I can't. Stuart!
I will say my phone is always on silent, and apparently
Yeah.
this is like peak millennial behavior because we were the ones sneaking our phones, like the first generation to have phones at school, and so it's like permanently on silent. And I don't think my phone has
I don't
ever
trust people
been out
that
loud
don't.
ever.
Yeah, I don't trust anyone under the age of like 40 who doesn't have their phone on silent at all times. Like the
Yeah.
amount of notifications I get. Like
Mm-hmm.
what
Can't be
why?
dinging all day long. Like,
Plus who
cut
actually
that shit
calls
out.
someone? Who calls someone when
Psychopaths. What?
that's what I'm saying. No one calls anyone without first sending them a message like, "Hey, you all right? You okay? You there? Can I call you?"
Mm-hmm.
It's anything
Yeah.
big. It's not a tragedy. It's not an
And
emergency.
doing the real millennial thing of like, I'm just needing to speak because, and then you do a big explainer, which is probably longer than the conversation you will have, just to reasure them that it's nothing
We
bad,
all need the
nothing too
reassurance.
arduous. It's just a
Yes.
quick check in or something. Yeah.
Also, can
You
I
can't just
can I tell
ring people
you
unannounced.
originally I forgot to scroll before we started recording the podcast, but my husband gave me some suggestions as to how to intro you. I'm joined by someone who is basically the human equivalent of the inside of a roasted marshmallow. That was one. And the other one was someone who is certainly a Miranda, because of the Sex and the City talk at the very beginning of the episode.
Wow.
Mhm.
Kind of a compliment, kind of not, because I know who Miranda is, and I know that Miranda can be, well, she
I
can be feisty at times, but it's
sure.
like
I
real
think
mixed.
I
Everyone wants to
think
be a Samantha, right?
that's the thing. In the
Yeah.
year 2025, everyone wants to be Samantha. Samantha is very sex positive. She's very fun. She's very commanding. I think everyone wants to
Mm-hmm.
be a Samantha. Not all of us can be Samanthas. In my opinion, you don't want to be called a Carrie or a Charlotte. I feel like that's an insult.
Yeah.
You just don't want
Being a
it.
Carrie or a Charlotte is probably the worst thing. And also, absolutely F Sarah Jessica Parker. Like Kim Cattrall all the way. Like I'm on
Yeah,
her
we're on
side with
her
this whole
side.
rivalry situation.
Yeah, we
I know
are.
nothing about what's going on. I've just
No,
seen
but
a
we
really
will take
catty
sides.
Instagram post, but I will take sides, absolutely.
Exactly. Anyway, I didn't even say this at the top of the podcast. It's the finale. We're talking about the finale
Mm.
of season 4. Now, keep in mind, this is Canadian, so it's also kind of part British in that we will have a special. The Brits love a short season and then a special,
Oh
and
yeah.
we'll
6
have a special.
episodes in the Christmas special. Oh, give it to me. Yeah, pump it straight into my veins. Love it.
And spoiler alert, it will be a Christmas special. The name
Mm.
of the next episode is Merry Christmas, Johnny Rose. So, I mean,
Merry
nothing like
Christmas, Johnny Rose. Here
missing
is your
holiday.
LVP trophy for the last 3 seasons.
Stop. Well, spoiling the guest a little bit. I did invite my husband to come on and chat with us about this episode, so he can, defend his guy, as they say.
He
He
can
even
defend all
said
he likes.
a little bit of feedback. He was like, no, I would have given Jocelyn a disgruntled pelican point for forcing David to throw her a baby shower for baby sprinkle.
That's a very interesting and probably a worthy take, were it not completely wrong. Johnny totally deserved it. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm not going to change.
we're talking about singles week. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us everywhere at Talking Shit. Watch us on YouTube. We have visual aids sometimes when Moira decides to wear wigs, but she isn't this episode, even though it's the
Do you wear
finale.
wigs? When will you wear wigs?
Exactly. We need to ask her. But before we do all of that, of course, we have to recap the episode just in case. I don't know why people wouldn't rewatch this episode. Like you probably should because it's incredible and you probably want to. But just in case you didn't, here's a little summary of what happened. Congratulations are in order, and we have a lot to celebrate in this episode of Schitt's Creek because Singles Week has started and Alexis is determined to make it a hit. Unfortunately, things get sidelined when Moira has to accompany a laboring Jocelyn to the hospital even though she definitely didn't drive her. And Moira has the lock and keys for the lock and key game, so Alexis has to make up something on the fly. All's well that ends well, though, when Alexis sets up a speed dating game, and Moira is able to see how self sufficient and successful Alexis has become. Roland barely makes it to the hospital in time because Johnny and Stevie took his phone away during a meeting, and Roland did not take it back with him when he went to run errands. I don't know how he survived in the truck without music, podcasts, any of those things, but that's his own cross to bear, I
You
suppose.
think Roland's truck connects to a phone in any way, shape, or form, Jess? That is the most
He has like
optimistic take
CDs
ever.
or tape cassettes in
He's
there.
probably got a vinyl player hooked up to the speakers in his bloody truck.
Well, either way, he doesn't have his phone, and he almost misses the birth of his baby. But to thank Moira for all her help, they name the baby Roland Moira, because why wouldn't they?
Incredible. Just of all the guesses for what possible name it could be, had no idea that would be it.
Yeah. But that's not what we care about most, is it? No, not even a little bit. Patrick tells David, I love you, but she knows. We'll freak David out. David has a heart to heart with a newly single Ted about giving Alexis a second chance. And in giving Ted said advice, he realizes he shouldn't squander an opportunity to tell Patrick how much he loves him. And
It's
on
so
top,
good.
I can't. On top of all those mushy gushy Mariah Carey moments, Ted tells Alexis he wants to be with her, and then they kiss, and then we all died because it was the best. And there are like 10 GIF moments in this one episode alone. Stuart,
Mhm.
that's our episode.
So many giftable moments. I love it whenever I'm watching the show and I see something like in GIF form that I've seen multiple times before, and I'm like, oh, that's the context. Because I always see them like out of context. Like the one,
The David
like I'm
clapping.
obsessed with that. David
Yeah.
clapping. Like there's so many that
Have you
like
seen the
hit.
Moira? I'll tell you what I'm about to do with her
I
arms. Have
did
you
in
seen
this
that?
one.
Because that's one of my favorites, and I've not been able to use it because I don't want to use gifts that you haven't yet seen.
Mhm.
And I just love because it's you don't know the context of like Alexis did this with her hands first. If you're watching us on YouTube, this is a great time to find us. She's like moving her hands back and forth, and then Moira mimics her. I'll tell you what I'm about to do.
Mhm.
It's great. I love this episode so much because like every storyline is great. There's not a dud in the bunch.
10 out of 10 for all of them. Like we're giving away the endings of like how this podcast is going to go, but like riding high, it was solid across the board. It was also incredibly well paced. I don't think there was a moment of like really kind of like anything dead happening at all in terms of like a bit of a lull. And I think like there was a clear contender for what was the C storyline, and still that hit. Like it was all good. No notes.
Yep.
Podcast over. It's great.
That's it. We're done here. We've done everything we
Yeah.
need to do. Where do you want to start, Stuart? Because we have like Jocelyn giving birth. We have Patrick and David, which leads us to Alexis and Ted. We have the whole singles week event. Where do you want to start?
Should we get what I think is the C tier story out of the way, which is
Jocelyn's birth.
weirdly Jocelyn's birth? Like,
No, not Jocelyn's birth, I guess. Jocelyn
who would
giving
have
birth.
thought? Like, because I mean, this is the thing that has been kind of like teased all season. It was the pregnancy test was like such a not a big mystery. It's not like a like episode arc, but it was a bit of a shock. Like finding out that Jocelyn was the one that was pregnant. This was hilarious. Firstly, for the fact that like obviously when Roland has his phone pretty much taken away from him, which was what again? Why would anyone have their phone on? Like it's just such boomer behavior. And like get that shit on silent.
Put it on silent. Even vibrate is better than having a ringer. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's too much. But here's the other thing. Like, how does the phone just sit there all day? how do you not think? I don't know. Maybe I'm a millennial who's just too connected to her phone. But like, I'm not leaving a room without picking my phone up, let alone leaving the house without my phone, like driving around without it. Wouldn't you think he'd need it? Like, here's the thing. maybe this isn't Roland. I'm just attributing things to a character that it makes no sense to attribute things to. Like, he probably uses a pencil and paper for any list that he needs of things to buy.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine that Roland's phone is used for anything other than receiving phone calls and playing games. Like,
I
and
can just
I
think of, like,
guarantee, like, his text size is
oh,
huge
he
as
has a
well.
very big
Like,
font.
absolutely. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
everything's in light mode. Yeah,
Oh, no, my eyes.
yeah.
I can think of like 10 things I would have to use my phone for on this errand that Roland is taking. Like, truly. Okay, let me count, right? Number 1, music slash podcasts for the road. Number 2, definitely where I'm keeping said list is on my phone, not paper pencil. Number 3, what if I have a question about one of the things on the list and I need to call Johnny or Stevie? Number 4, directions. I don't know where I'm
Yep.
going. I never know where I'm going. So navigation.
Even if it's a route that you do know, you need to know the traffic status of everything. Well, if there's
I
a big
always
like the traffic, you want to avoid it, right?
Yeah, no, I'm very tapped in. I can never murder anyone because I'm always using ways to get everywhere, and it'd be really easy to know the
Unless you
incident.
conveniently murder someone on your usual routes where you
I'd have to
drive.
murder them on my route. Yeah, yeah, otherwise they'd know. So I think that's the thing. Like, I could think of 20 reasons I need my phone. However, I do think it is feasible that Roland wouldn't have noticed. Can I tell you like, if I'm a nitpick, and I'm a nitpicker, so I will do it.
On this podcast?
I know the
What?
audacity of me. Um, I just feel like when Stevie calls Roland to, like, check in on where he's been and his phone is on the coffee table in the lobby and it vibrates when she does that, or it makes a noise when she does that, you're telling me you didn't hear the 20 other notifications that Jocelyn sent that she was having the
Mhm.
baby? Like, what's going on
Yep.
with that? What's going on? Are you busy?
Yeah.
Maybe they're busy. Maybe they're not in the lobby.
Maybe they're not in the lobby, which could explain why it hasn't gone walkies as well. Because I imagine with that much foot traffic in a like hotel lobby, that maybe someone might have just ooh,
It hasn't gone,
pinched
"Excuse
that
me?"
walkies, gone for a walk. Do you not refer to that to something being pinched? Is that just a Britishism? No, it's not.
I love when I learn new things on this podcast. I love when it happens live. It's so organic. Because usually it doesn't happen on the podcast. I have to bring it up. It goes walkies.
Yeah, it goes.
This makes it sound like you're talking to your dog and like, do you want to go
Yeah.
walkies? Do you
Well,
want do
it
you want to
kind
go
of
walkies?
because it's a nice way of saying it's been lost or
Pilfered,
stolen.
stolen,
Yeah, because it goes for a
five
walk on its
finger
own thing. It
discounted.
just it just goes for a wander.
It
Yeah.
walkies. I
But
love this
anyway,
so much. Do you have walkie talkies? Do you call them that?
I really wanted to make up some really absurd name there, but my brain just was not
I
firing as
believe
quickly.
it.
I was like, "Oh, we call them something absurd." Like, yeah, yeah, we have walkie-talkies.
Okay, I'm wondering what walkies. It goes walkies. I'm not gonna be able to get off of that ever. Uh, yeah, no, I don't think this is the kind of place where that. It's such a small town. Like, are they really
Well,
getting
it's
that many customers?
Canada as well, isn't it? They're all lovely
Everyone's too
over
nice. They're
there.
gonna be like, "Excuse me, do you have a lost and found here? I found a phone." I don't know why that's my Canadian voice, but either way, I love that Moira is the one who ends up having to accompany Jocelyn. Like, probably, mm, David is a worse person, but I do still think I would prefer Alexis or Johnny before Moira, even though Moira has birthed 2 children.
Yeah, I mean, she'd take your mind off of it quite well, perhaps, but she would
But
just make it
because
all
she's
about
so focused
herself.
on her own stuff.
Yeah.
I
Like,
don't know.
I feel
It's
like she would take the burden off of you, not in a nice way. I think she would just forcibly take it off of you
Yeah, you
because she'd
mean, like,
project it onto herself.
and also by not driving, to not be the one driving the
Well, no,
car.
no, 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 no. She did say that Jocelyn insisted, and I kind of do take her at
I
her
don't
word for
believe
that.
that at all. I think
I
Jocelyn is
to
like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll drive then." I think that's
I
what
don't
happened.
know. Maybe I'm being a bit too apologetic, but I kind of believe that Jocelyn would be like, "No, no, no. I need to do this to take my mind
She was
off of it."
screaming behind the front wheel,
Some
okay?
people drive like that. Some people are really nervous drivers.
Is that what happens in the UK? People just scream when they sit behind a car.
Ah!
That's
Through
normal.
central London sometimes.
So, Jocelyn gives birth to a baby boy, Roland Moira, and okay, I don't know that I've ever related to Johnny and Moira more than when they're in the hospital room and immediately they're like, "Hold the baby." And they're like,
I'm
"No,
good.
no, thank you. Hold the baby." It's like, stop trying to make people hold your baby, okay? Like, first of all, that baby literally just came out of your body. Like, I don't wanna risk dropping it. And also, like, that's a brand new baby that is,
Mhm.
like, in my opinion, delicate cargo, and I don't wanna hold your baby. I never wanna hold your baby.
I mean, I feel like there are sometimes like I really am someone that hates obligation and
But
things
you're
that are
gonna say
expected.
hates baby.
I mean that as well. I mean, kind of to a degree, but like I kind of feel like it is a special thing to like have a little baby, and so of course, like you kind of have to indulge the parents a little bit. At least
Yeah.
if it's on the day that they've just given birth, yes,
I
I think
suppose
that that
there
absolutely.
I think here are my exceptions to my rule of not holding brand new babies. My exceptions are as follows. One, if it is a niece or nephew, I feel like, yeah, okay, great. I will hold said baby. Two, if it is named after me, then I feel like there is a sense of obligation. So maybe Moira has to. Johnny doesn't have to hold that baby.
Does the named after you count for a middle name, like in the sense of Roland's
Well,
Moira?
I think so. Because especially because it's Moira, and Moira is both a very unique name and also generally used for a girl. And not saying you do whatever you want with your baby's names. Roland Moira, quite the mouthful.
I and the thing I like about this whole thing is that Moira, she's recovering because we've had her losing her name away from things that have been named after her, like the
Yeah.
theater got taken away. So I mean, her stock is going up in
She
terms
still
of
has Moira
things being named
Rose's
after.
garden or Moira's Rose's garden or whatever the heck it is.
Moira Rose's Garden,
Something like that. She still has that.
bank number insert here.
Mhm.
So yeah, like her stock of like things being named after her is going up. So I mean, like she should be very thankful of it.
Sure, I just don't wanna hold a baby. That's the thing. Like,
Fair.
people assume everyone wants to hold a baby, that everyone thinks babies are cute. I got news for you. If you pushed a baby out, it looks terrible. And the reason is because if you and this is not any judgment. This is on all babies, okay? Because what happens is it squishes their little heads. And so they have like weird cone heads. And they also just look traumatized because you just shoved them out a tiny hole. Of course they're going to look traumatized. Like a C-section baby probably doesn't look as weird, but like most little newborn babies look like aliens.
I mean, they all kind of do look like aliens. The head thing is just making me think of a quote from West Wing where Toby Ziegler is like, he's like, "Oh, babies come with hats," because they all just wear hats, and I'm just
Because no one wants
realizing why
their
because
weird
they're
heads.
covering up the little like squishy head shape.
That's
But yeah.
exactly it. Babies' heads aren't cold. They're just
They
ugly.
kind
So they have to
they
cover
kind
them.
of can be adorable in a way. Like I'm not going to be that kind of like. I mean, like they do. They're like when they're quiet. They're like little. They're
Well, listen,
tiny, tiny. They've
I
got the kind
fully
of like cute
believe
little. I just want to squish them kind of thing. But like that's about
here's
it,
the
right?
here's the difference. Here's the difference. I don't even care. I'm gonna say what when have I held back, you know? Um, there's a difference between being universally adorable like a puppy, where
Yeah.
everyone can agree puppies are cute, even if they're not even dog people. They're like, that's a cute puppy. They got big old eyes and you're just little fluffy, right? So cute. Babies, I think understandably, biologically, evolutionarily speaking, their parents are supposed to think they're cute so that they'll take care of them. So of
Hmm.
course the parent is going to be like, "Look at how cute my baby is." I wasn't there was nothing in my DNA that says I have to think that baby is cute because evolution, doesn't care about what I think about that baby. So I just babies look like little old men most of the time. I'm so sorry to say it, but it's like so true. Babies aren't cute until they're a little bit older and like have pudgy cheeks and like the fat rolls on their arms and like are
Oh
just
no.
generally a little bit cuter because they can do things. Whereas like a baby that just came out literally can't do anything. Like it would die,
Yeah.
so, like, it's not cute. I don't know.
Wow. Where they come for old men, like saying that the old men aren't cute. Just
They
sucks to
can
be an old
be.
guy.
They can
Right
be.
now, they are throwing their flat caps down on the ground in absolute rage at you.
It's okay. I think I'll make it. So I apologize to anyone who has like new babies. I'm sure you think your baby is so cute, and I'm sure it's very cute, but
I
it's
think
probably
anyone
not that
listening
cute.
that's just had a little bebe, I think you should send in some adorable baby pictures to Jess and just prove her wrong. Just inundate her with baby
Just know
pictures.
that when I say, "Oh my gosh, so cute," you're the exception. I'm probably lying.
Wow.
Uh, but Jocelyn does give birth. Moira is there to help her out along the way. I do appreciate that Moira did stay. Like, she didn't
Uh-huh.
have to. She could have left. Like, she could
Yeah.
have been like, "Oh, Alexis really can't handle this." And I do like the little talk that Jocelyn gives her.
Mhm.
Jocelyn's going through a lot this episode, and she still is able to give Moira a little pep talk about like Alexis is
Oh,
really great. And I really liked that because I think there's a difference when like as a family member, I think you're supposed to be like, "Oh, my kid is incredible, blah, blah, blah." But there's a difference in having someone who's an outsider say that exact same thing about your kid.
yeah. What Jocelyn says about Alexis is okay. This is where I'm gonna have to just get real. This episode made me tear up a number of times, and I think this was the point where I was like, "Oh, it's everything's just gonna, it's just gonna be, this. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna be really upset," and just was a mash of words and just like little tears building in my eyes because it was just so sweet what Jocelyn said about Alexis, and it's entirely true as well. Ah,
Yeah,
so
she says
good.
she's one of the most amazing people I've ever known. She's a hard worker, she's kind, and she's capable of so much more than people give her credit for. All of
Mhm.
that feels so true.
And it's totally the insight that a teacher would have as well. Like, I think we kind of glossed over the fact that like Jocelyn was Alexis's teacher, even if it was for a short blip, just to kind of get her through high school. But
Mhm.
like, it's the kind of thing that a teacher does look out for, especially that thing about like being capable where people like don't give them credit. Like, I think Jocelyn sees that Alexis is switched on, and she needs that push of encouragement that she gets, someone to like kind of like almost like bat them away from the when they're straying off the kind of path and just like, no, 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 this way, and give them a little bit of
Mhm.
guidance. But it was just, yeah, it was a lovely bit of insight from Jocelyn. And of course, Moira makes it about herself. And it's like, that's one of the most generous compliments one could receive as a mother. And it's like, more a compliment for your daughter,
Yeah,
but sure.
it is a compliment to her. Just I mean, we can question how much she really had a hand in like raising Alexis, but
Hmm.
yeah, I like that it's Jocelyn. I feel like Alexis and Jocelyn have had enough time together for it to make sense that
Yeah.
it's Jocelyn, and Jocelyn and Moira also have a good relationship at this point, that I think she is actually hearing this from Jocelyn. She still ends up going to Singles Week and being like, "Oh my gosh, you did pull it off." And she's like
Hmm.
shocked and then wants to take over. But let's talk about Singles Week now. This the beginning of Singles Week in Schitt's Creek, Alexis throwing it, and naturally, of course, things get a little bit sidelined when Moira doesn't have the locks and keys, so she's not there, so they can't do the game. Um, I like how Alexis pivots. I honestly also feel like if not for Moira being like, "No, don't start without me," and all this other stuff, Alexis probably pivots even earlier, and there's like less downtime of them just sitting around doing nothing.
I would have been so when I watched this episode, which was after we recorded last week. So we recorded it, and I immediately kind of watched it because I was like, I'm not waiting. I have to. I
Mhm.
um I hadn't been to a work event that I had last Friday, in which we did the literal like
You did
musical
not.
chair like face to face with someone you've not met in the company and have
No!
small talk with them. It wasn't musical
Why?
chairs, but it was like this rotating thing of like move along one, move along one,
How
move
many
along
minutes
one.
did you have to spend with them?
Too long. It was only like a minute or two that we kind of got to chat. I had the same conversation 10 times where I was like, "Oh,
Oh, the weather is
how
nice.
how long did it take you to get here? Blah blah blah. Oh, you live there. I've been there
I
once." It
hate
was
small talk. I
yeah,
hate it. I'm not
yeah.
good at it, and I don't like doing it, and I become very awkward, and then I talk too much because I don't know what else to say. And then I feel weird because I feel like I'm stuck there. Like this is not a huge tangent. It's just a tiny one, I promise. I had to get my car serviced. And the woman at the shop was very nice. Like the lady at the front desk. She was like very kind, very nice. And I couldn't even help it. Like, we're sitting there, she's ringing me up. There's like a super long silence. It's like super awkward. And so I'm like, oh, thanks, blah, 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 blah. And then we start talking about the tires and then the snow. And then it's like, now it's been 5 minutes and I just want to leave. But and I'm
Mhm.
like slowly doing that thing where you like get closer and closer to the exit. And I'm like, how do I excuse myself from this conversation? I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. Stop making me do
It's my
small talk.
it's my literal pet hate is when conversations just don't end, and when someone doesn't take the hint that the conversation has ended, and you're like,
Mhm.
"Mm, I'm trying to gesture to go,"
And
and
it's
you're
just like
still
super
going.
nice.
I should
And then,
probably
but
get it going then. Yeah, and then they
yeah.
keep talking. You're like,
Oh,
"Mm,
just get me
how
out
dare
of
you
this
be too nice?"
hell. I don't wanna talk to strangers, and I know people love talking to strangers. My co-host on Schitt 90 shows taught me knows too much about strangers' lives. I don't wanna know anything about someone's life.
No,
You're really
no.
asking for the bare minimum
I'm
here.
the complete same. My friend Ben, like, will get in a conversation with absolute random people, like
Why?
just getting a train with someone, and like he'll just talk to the person opposite, and I'm like, they're going headphones
Just has he
in,
heard of
sat,
headphones?
just
Yeah.
not talking to headphones. Like I just, he's just such a lovely person, and will talk the ear off of anyone. I am not that person. I
I'm not
will.
either.
If
I
you
mind my own
become one of my
business.
nearest and dearest, love you. I'll talk your ear off. But if I don't know you, get away from me.
That's exactly how I am. To the point where I was like, I bring my headphones everywhere at this point. I always have something to listen to. That's the thing. I never want to be
Mhm.
bored, and so like I'll always have to have something in my ears. So I had my headphones, and I'm walking into the library, and there was this guy he was a cute old man. Okay, I know one cute old man. I have no idea what his name is, where he's from. I don't know
Or
his
was
story.
it just a really large new baby?
If it was, that baby knew how to play the ukulele, and that's impressive for a baby.
Wow, yeah.
He was sitting outside the library, just jamming on a ukulele. I recognize the
Wow.
song. I don't know what it was. Like I've definitely heard it in like pop culture, something, like like a movie or a
Mhm,
show or something like that. But he's jamming it, and all I did. This is literally what I did. I didn't say a single word to the guy. I didn't even stop walking. I walked. I just shoved my headphone off my ear so I could just listen to him jam out for a minute till I get inside. Then I put that headphone right back on. I just, I don't want to talk to him, but like it was
mhm.
enjoyable. I thought it was quaint. It was very cute.
Did you
I don't know
tip
how I
him?
got here. No, he didn't have a little thingy out.
Oh, so it wasn't a busker or anything.
I
He was
live
just
in the
playing. Was it
suburbs. I live in
was
the
it just for the
suburbs.
joy of playing a ukulele outside the
Literally,
library?
that's what it was.
Oh, bless his heart.
That's what I said. I was like, this is the cutest thing I've stumbled upon. I won't engage it. I won't even talk to him, but in my head, it made my day. It was great. I don't know how we got here. I don't know where. Oh, singles week. It's singles
So,
week.
of course.
It's singles week. I also, can I say, I love Alexis's little t-shirt that she's wearing. I love that she asks Moira why Moira's not wearing a t-shirt, as if Moira has ever worn a t-shirt a single day in her life.
Yeah. Like,
Um,
she knows her
yeah,
mother, right?
yeah,
Like,
come
why is
on.
she asking? This is yeah,
Yeah.
Alexis is too stressed and anxious, and
Straced.
so stressed and anxious. I got really paranoid when saying it again there. I'm like, no. And so of course she's not on guard against Moira's Moiraisms.
Yeah. She is straced about everything going on with both singles week and everything, like the fallout of what happened with Ted. I think she's just like, I have enough on my plate. Like, why don't you have the locks and keys?
Hmm.
Get going. What's going on?
Yeah.
And yeah, like you could tell her heart is broken, right? Like she has this whole speech about how she thought she had found the perfect lock for her key, but then it like didn't work out and all this other stuff. And meanwhile, and I want to pivot a little bit to talk about like David, and we'll get back to the Alexis and Ted of it all because I almost kind of want to go chronologically a little bit just because it makes sense to here,
Yeah.
where David is tasked with delivering outfits for the puppies to wear during singles week for the puppy adoption thing.
I'm
What
still gonna need someone to explain this to me.
I
I'm
think what
so
it
not
is,
on board with singles
can
adopting
I pitch it
puppies.
to you? Because I feel like I have a good pitch for this.
Go for it.
I think 'cause this is singles week, right? It's not a singles day, singles week. So you're spending an entire week trying to find people you connect with. I feel
Mhm.
like let's pretend singles week starts on like a Monday, all right? Let's pretend it's now Friday. and you've been at this all week. You haven't really matched with anybody. You're not really feeling the vibes of anybody,
That's
right?
so unrealistic. I'm just so charming.
Please, I would have 3 numbers by then. So
Yeah,
you
we're at
you haven't
Friday.
really you haven't really matched with anybody, and it's Friday. You're feeling a little down about yourself. You're feeling a little lonely. Now we hold an adoption thing where not only can you like meet and play with like puppies, maybe kittens are there too, but you also like if you are a person who loves animals like me, I think seeing other people interact with animals would help you both bond with them and make sure that they're a good fit for you. Like, I would never have ever
Mhm.
dated someone who didn't like dogs. And also, if you really are lonely, perhaps you find an animal as a companion that like helps with that. Like, I do think it's a good idea. And I do think cute sweaters does help.
No, no, no. No pet adoption should be done on a whim, and you cannot get people who are emotionally vulnerable and single and really sad because they're single and replace that with a pet. Pet
Are
adoption
you
should
talking
be an
about from
informed
experience?
choice. No, I just get really, really irate when
Well, yeah,
people at
I'm
the
not
drop of a hat will
saying,
just adopt a pet. This
yeah.
is cruelty by Ted.
Oh, okay.
Ted should have his license revoked.
Whoa. I understand what you're saying in terms of yes, you should be prepared. You shouldn't just adopt a dog and then not know who's going to let it out, who's going to feed it, all of those things, right? Obviously, you should be
Yeah.
prepared. I do think there is something here, though, even if it's just playing with the puppies, even if not a single dog gets adopted, I do think there is something there about watching. It breaks the ice, too. Maybe if you put it earlier in the week, I feel like I'd be way easier to have a conversation with a person I don't know, like a stranger, if there's puppies around. Like, you always are
Mhm.
going to find ways to talk when there's puppies.
Yeah. I love that I'm the one that's asked for an explanation. Yeah, I think I've just come up with my actual explanation of what this is. The whole point of Singles Week obviously is promote Schitt's Creek as a town and like to have like
Hmm.
the town thrive. This is just promoting like I guess the adoption services that
Ted.
Ted's like veterinary like place or like deals with as well. And is probably like an advertising thing. Much like I imagine that like Bob's Garage is like around and like the motel and stuff like that.
Hmm.
That's probably more of the explainer. But I just don't like the idea of like the way they refer to it as if it's like one of the activities, like the lock and key event. Oh, adopt a puppy event and then just meet someone there. Cut that out. Just
Yeah,
a bit of
it's fair.
clarification.
I do just think that like having dogs around automatically breaks the ice in a way.
That would, yeah.
Like it would for me at least. Anyone who likes animals, I feel like it would be helpful. But yeah, David brings over these sweaters. He tries to drop them off without Ted noticing. They end up having a heart to heart, which I love. Because Stuart, you know me, I love when we get these odd pairings that we don't see much.
Yep.
And Ted and David is a prime example of one that works so well. David is not a person I don't think any of us would say is like has much empathy for others all the time, right? Like he's fairly like Moira, he's fairly self-involved, but he gives such good advice here. I love this. And I love that it takes Ted being like, I broke up with Heather. And he's like, I guess I'm gonna stay then.
Mhm.
um, I I love it. I think it's so sweet, and I love how David says for the past like 6 months, she's brought you up every single day. Like, he's
Yeah.
telling Ted things that Ted doesn't know, and I love that he said because we now know, Stuart, it's been, like, 2 years roughly,
Mhm.
that they've been at Schitt's Creek, and he says, like, she's grown, she's changed, like, she's not the same person that she was when you guys first dated. She knows she made a mistake. Um, David is the perfect person because he does admit, like, yeah, she still is a little self-involved and all these other things, but she does love you, and that's real, and she knows she shouldn't have made a mistake, and I love him connecting to Ted and being like, "I've been burnt too, but don't let that stop you from, like, living your life and being in love and being with someone."
Mhm. It's just the whole yeah, she's different now. Not that different, but different enough to know that she made a mistake. That was just a great way of punctuating it because it's like, yeah, it's the same Alexis. It's the same Alexis that he loved back then. And she's different in a way that is mature enough to realize that she effed up and that she has grown up and learned from that as well. And yeah, the whole so you've been burned a couple of times. It's like, have we met? Like, David is the way he is because of everything to do with that. Yeah, just the excuse to have a pairing that we don't get is wonderful. I love it when we do get this, where two characters that really just I don't think we've ever had a real David and Ted
They've had,
situation.
I mean, they had the dinner party, but
Yeah,
they weren't the only two there. Like there really haven't been many David and Ted moments. And they're so different. So, like, it
yeah.
is interesting to watch them interact. I love him being like, "You know how many off-road dirt bike tours I had to take?" And David's like, "I've never been on a dirt bike."
I
Um,
d-
it's so funny. But yeah, he does say, like, she's different now. And he says sometimes it does work out, even though everything inside of us is telling us to protect ourselves. When you've got
Mhm.
it, don't let it go. And I love it because I love David having the realization that the advice he's giving Ted, he also should be taking that advice with Patrick. And I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it. I know everyone knows I love Patrick, duh. But him knowing that him telling David he loves him is going to make David's day harder, but he has to say it anyway. I love it so much. It's
that
literally perfect.
that dynamic at the beginning was just so so good because again it's another instance of Patrick trolling the ever loving shit out of David and David just having to take it on the chin because he's doing it from a complete and utter place of love. Um, this is gold, I think, because it's like I think everyone wants like. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just absolutely revealing something about myself that is way too personal for this podcast. But like, I think everyone kind of wants someone that is just there to like tease them a little bit occasionally,
Yeah.
and like kind of like because I think that's just the nature of everything. It's like you gotta have someone just poking you in the right way. That's just
He's
enough where it's
nudging
not
him in the right
uncomfortable. It's
direction.
lovely. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
exactly.
nudging him in the right direction. Because if he I think if you look at it a different way, if Patrick doesn't say "I love you" and doesn't put himself out there and just holds it in, it builds resentment of, like, "Why isn't he saying it?" Like, you know what I mean? Instead, Patrick does such a lovely thing, which is, "I know this is gonna stress you out. However, I love you and I needed to say it. Um, but uh I need to say this and you tell me when you're ready." And that I loved him also saying that, saying like, "I'm not putting stress on you to say it back, but you will say it when you're ready, and that's
Mhm.
okay." And then him saying, "You're my Mariah Carey." I just can't.
The revelation that David has only ever said it to his parents and a Mariah Carey concert. To Mariah Carey, like must be right, like not
It's
to anyone
perfect.
else in attendance.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and like your Mariah Carey is just so great because he's saying it again in a lovely way, but it's mocking David a little bit. But
Yeah.
David is too, I think, like sideswiped by it coming out of nowhere, seemingly, and is like that compliment could bring me to tears, which was just incredible. I love the fact that as well, like in the explanation of like I've only ever said it to my parents, and then Patrick is like, and on the Mariah Carey concert, like he knew
Yeah,
because
they've had this conversation, yeah.
they've been together long enough now that they are like this is like the relationship's baked, like
Yeah.
it's there and stuff. They've been through a bit of hardship, they've weathered it, they come out stronger than I think they have, and I think that there's no real signs of like major cracks or anything. This it's a good cook, it's a good cook going on right now.
It's everything. Because I love the way this I think the thing is, Stuart, I think if I had asked you, you probably would have said, "Yes, Ted and Alexis get together this episode." Like, it's the seeds have been planted, we've been moving in that
Yeah.
direction. I don't think you would have expected to get the Patrick and David stuff we got. Um, because they're already dating, right? Like, it's not a big surprise, but it is a big step, for
Mhm.
them to exchange I love yous, and I love the entirety of their relationship. I totally agree with you. I'm also someone who thinks, like, teasing is kind of a part of a relationship. You need someone that, yes, you're comfortable with, but also pushes you in ways to, like, to make you grow, to make you change, and
Just challenges you in small but meaningful ways, yeah.
yeah, and that's the way Patrick is with David, and so then to have David immediately come back in after this conversation with Ted and tell Patrick he loves him, and it's just so sweet, and then on top of that, for then Patrick to immediately be like, "This would be so much better if I had tea."
I think we know our MVP of the episode, everyone. I am just
Yeah.
gonna spoil it now. Just the whole "wanna get me a tea while you're out," I mean, should be a given if, David loved
Mhm.
Patrick, like, that shouldn't even have been a question. Like, should be default behavior, but
Mhm.
just goes, "Okay, I will get you a tea."
Yeah,
And, of course, much as the emotional stuff is there, you gotta where's the tea? Like,
yeah.
that's probably front of mind of, like, the whole conversation, like, "Yeah, I love you. Okay, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that.
But
Where's the
what
fucking
about the
tea,
tea?
David? Where's the
Yeah.
tea?"
I pulled this just for you, Stuart.
I dream I'm holding a nice cup of tea.
My dream, I'm holding a nice cup of tea.
Yeah, I am.
There you go. And then I love David being like, "Oh, fuck." So good. He's like, "No, no, no, I don't need."
So
He's like, "No, no, no, I'm going, I'm going."
mhm,
And then of course, I think it's perfect because this also is the reason he ends up at the cafe,
right.
to witness everything with Ted and Alexis. So it's just perfect, and, like, again, I think while we know the Ted and Alexis stuff is coming, you could see it from a mile away. I think what really is an extra punch to the gut is not just the David and Patrick stuff, but the fact that a conversation between David and Ted is what kind of results in both of these couples taking these massive steps forward. Um,
Mhm.
I absolutely adore it, and then, oh, the Ted moment. Oh my god. Oh, this is what love stories are about, okay? This is why all of us have unrealistic expectations when it comes to love and relationships. It's because of this, because Ted shows up and he sits down in front of her and he says, what did he say?
Hi, I'm Ted. I know
Hi.
I've only got 2 minutes.
I'm newly single, and I'd be kidding myself if I told you I haven't wanted to do this every single day for the last 2 years. She says, "Do what?" And then they kiss and everyone, like, claps, and it's
They
so cute.
stand up and it goes silent. Like, everyone is just on bated breath, just waiting to see what
Yeah.
happens, and then, yeah, when they kiss, it's just so adorable, and then some mother effer ruins it. The one that stood right
Tries to
next to
kiss
him
Twyla,
goes in for Twyla. I mean, shoot your shot. I mean, I can't blame you, but
but I just
not
love
in
that,
this
"No, thank
moment,
you."
mate. Yeah. Twyla was like, "No, no, no,
Thank
no,
you. Oh, thank you.
no."
Um, it's it's everything. I love
Mhm.
this. Like, Annie Murphy and also Dustin, like, they're so cute, and the way they acted is, like, it's just everything. I don't know what else to do besides squee because I love it so, so much.
Yeah. It's just we know it's been coming. Like I part of my hesitation with much of Alexis's story, like because I was worried that Alexis would just be there as a vessel for a relationship, as oftentimes female characters in shows are. They're just there to be in like another half to a really boring written male character. And this is, I think, different because they've built history with everything. They've made the relationship count. They've given both characters very kind of like good plots on their own. They feel like fully rounded individuals who happen to fancy the pants off each other and love each other. And I love the way in which it has taken a slow burn approach to this. And yeah, okay, we've had some cliche moments like with Alexis, like going off on a date with his rival, and like we've had those kind of tropes, but they've always been kind of skewed in a way that's not been too cliche. And it's always been with a really kind of unique perspective. And I just love the fact that we do get a bit of a tropey, gushy, lovely moment of just, oh, they finally got together, because it feels so much more earned, and it feels
Yeah.
so much better for it. I was screaming when this happened. I've actually found my little messages when I was watching, and it was like all caps. He broke up with Heather, screaming, and
Yeah.
then and then when I got to the end, my only response when they actually kissed was just the gif and of just David clapping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
so
it's
adorable.
so perfect. It's everything. It's a lovely finale. Schitt's Creek knows how to finale, okay?
Yes.
It took it knows, it took the directions and it was like, "You got it. Here we go.
Hmm.
This is your finale."
Yep. We didn't know how to fold in the cheese, but we know how to dish it up. Like, it's all good.
Exactly. Exactly. I do have one tiny moment I need to discuss before we get into feedback. And it
Mhm.
is the fact that Bob is literally just feeding Gwen the goss. Talk about
Bob
couple goals.
Bob was an absolute fiend this episode. Like, for
Mhm.
being an absolute gossip fiend, but then also being diabolical to Johnny and just being like, what was it? Called him
He called him a
snakes a bit
snake,
much, but
and then yeah,
certainly,
he's
like, what was
definitely
it?
slippery.
Yeah. Like, what the hell, Bob?
Standing right here, Bob.
Yeah. Outrageous.
It's
Like, as
so
much as
funny.
I love to, like, point out when Johnny is not being as good of a Johnny as he could be, I'm sorry, but Bob, that's so uncalled for. Like, we could insult Johnny.
It's
Fuck off,
so
mate.
funny. I loved it. I loved every minute of it, mostly because I'm just picturing Gwen on the other side, like, "You get me that gossip, Bob, or you're sleeping
Oh,
in the
yeah.
car again." Like,
Yeah, you lost me Christmas World, and now this? You're gonna get me
yeah,
the gossip.
I love it so I love the use of the side characters in this show and the Bob moment and the Twyla moment where she's just like, "No,
Mhm.
thanks." It's so good.
And it's the way in
Oh,
which their relationship has progressed as well. Like, Bob had asked Johnny to speak at his brother's funeral, and now it's at the point where he's like
yep.
accused him at cheating at poker, calls him a snake, and say that he's very kind of like slippery. Like, the way in which that's kind of evolved is
Yeah,
again
it's
small little
perfect.
touches makes this show great.
It's perfect. All right. Shall we get into some feedback that we got on
Hmm.
this episode? Jared says Johnny did nothing wrong. Roland should be the one responsible for making sure he has his phone before he leaves. What do you think of this opinion, Stuart?
Disagree. It was confiscated from him. He didn't know when he could take it back. I'm going to stick up for my boy. I gave him MVP last week. I feel like I've got an obligation to be good to Roland.
Uh-huh. I agree with Jared. I think that after the meeting is over, Roland's responsible for just grabbing the phone that's on the table in front of him before he leaves
Yeah.
the room, you know?
It's a very I think also like quite a teacherly thing of just, well, if you weren't playing on it, I wouldn't be confiscating it.
I
So
just
maybe don't do that in the future.
mhm.
So yeah.
I just got an all caps message from the world's biggest Johnny fan, my husband Will. It's Roland's phone. It's his responsibility. So if you want to know his opinion,
I love
um,
that. I love that Will's hearing one half of this conversation, and yet he
yeah.
still knows everything that's
Oh, he
going
knows
on.
what's happening. Yeah, he
Oh
knows.
yeah.
We also got a message from Aaron. Alexis is just the sweetest angel in the world, and I just love this journey for her. P.S. I think the funniest 2 seconds of this whole show is the cut of Jocelyn driving herself to the hospital.
Yeah, I was so happy when it did happen as well, because I was like there the whole time. I was like, I even my messages. I was like, is Moira in the back seat? And then the next one,
Yeah.
all caps. Oh my god, she is.
I mean,
So
because if you look
good.
at it just right, you're like, wait a minute, where's the steering wheel? Like, what
Yeah,
is
it was.
happening? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also like she's on her phone, like she should be driving. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
so
perfect.
so funny. Such a good gag as well, and especially one that they didn't really linger on. Like, it panned
Mhm.
forward. Jocelyn is there screaming, driving, and it just cuts away. And it's
That's it.
like
Yeah.
nice and sweet. Yeah.
All right, let's give out our ratings. This is a tough one for the Simply the
Yeah.
Best this week.
Yeah.
Like, because you could argue that 3, 4 characters should get it. Like, if I'm just looking through, I feel like, okay, we have Moira for being with Jocelyn during the birth of her baby. We have David for the conversation with Ted and opening up to Patrick. Alexis for like throwing a fantastic singles week and also getting Ted in the end. We could go with Jocelyn for literally pushing a baby out of her vagina. Bob for hot goss with Gwen. Patrick for loving David. There's Ted for showing up for Alexis.
Patrick for requesting a tea.
Patrick for requesting a tea. There's so many options here.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go to
I
you
know
first,
who.
Stuart. Where do
Yeah, I
you?
know who mine is. No questions.
Okay, who is it?
I, for me, I don't think it could be. I mean, there are many people up for contention, yes, but like, for me, the one that like just gets out ahead is the one that makes all the things join up together, and it's going to be David. Because if it wasn't for David giving Ted the little speech that he had to give, we wouldn't have got that moment. If it wasn't for David recognizing in Alexis earlier in the season that she was still in love with Ted, I don't think we would have got this happen as it like has all unfolded. Like I don't think there would have been that kind of like realization, like this self-reflection. Yeah, I'm giving it to David.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time with this one just because I love the Alexis story arc so much. Like I
Mhm.
love the growth narrative she's had like really this season. I feel like it's been her season.
Yes.
But I do agree. I think David wins because he has two things. He both has this conversation with Ted, which is really important and possibly the game changer. Like it's possible that Ted doesn't act on anything without this
Yeah.
conversation. And then he also is able to have the emotional maturity to realize I need to take my own advice and go have this conversation with Patrick. So I think because we could have seen David run, like that's probably what his gut instinct is to do, but he
Mhm.
doesn't. And that's massive for a character like David. So I agree. I just want to say I love Alexis and I appreciate her this episode and everything that happens with her. I think that I don't want to give her a point because I think I'd be rewarding her for her entire journey this season, not
Mhm.
just for this solo episode where I think David really has been the one to earn it.
Yeah, completely. And just on a thought I just had just now is that made me remember is that I want to give Ted some props as well for like breaking up with Heather. Not for because what he did is broke up with Heather after Alexis had revealed how she felt. But he then stuck with it and wasn't really going to act on it. And I like that because it makes the whole thing so much less messy because it's like Alexis talks to him. He understands that he still has these feelings because it's making him feel
Yes.
things. And then he's like, that's not fair on Heather. I'm going to break up with her because she doesn't deserve that. But
Yes.
then he doesn't immediately jump onto Alexis and go into like old habits because he still has those reservations. And also, like, it's not as if he dumped Heather to just get with Alexis. And so
So
with
much in
David
media, we
coming,
see the other way around. We see
Mhm.
them, okay, she revealed her feelings. Now I want to be with her. Let me make sure she wants to be with me before I break up with my girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the David conversation then has like it means so much more then because it really is the catalyst, like you said. Like if it wasn't for this, probably may not have happened. So yeah, I just want to give the writing for Ted there just a bit of props because it just makes it so
Mhm.
much more elegant.
Yes, it really does.
Mhm.
Okay, let's give out a disgruntled pelican point. Um, Listen, if if I am 9 months pregnant and my husband allows another person to take his cell phone away, and I don't think to myself, "Hey, maybe I should keep my cell phone on me in case my wife goes into labor." This is on Roland. This is on Roland for not keeping an eye on his freaking cell phone when his wife is pregnant. I'm giving it there's like barely anybody else I could give it to. I could give it to the random guy who tries to kiss Twyla Don't know that man's name, so I can't do that. Like, who else is there that does something that you would be ashamed of this episode? Like, no one. So it's Roland for me. Keep your phone on you when your wife is 9 months pregnant, you dillweed.
Wow. Do you know, you make a really good point. You really do make a really good point. The problem is Johnny took the phone, and I'm gonna blame Johnny.
Yeah. I mean, of course.
Because it's not in school. He's an adult. If he's not doing what you need to do at work, you don't take it away from him and put it on silent. You just say, Roland, put the phone down and you're fired. Like, you want this job?
Put your
Then
phone
turn
down or
up
you're
for it.
fired.
Exactly. So, like, be a boss, be mature about it, and tell him to put it down. You don't take away someone's phone like you're in school. Cut that out. That's some like full on bad boss behavior, and I'm not going to reward bad capitalist boss Johnny. Like he's an awful, no, he's not an awful person. He's a lovely person, but I mean, maybe it's for the joke, but I'm giving it to Johnny.
Okay. Well, in 2 weeks' time, when we go through our season 4 wrap up, we'll find out who are the winners and losers of these awards. But
I feel like I've been ballot stuffing this.
See what happens. But of course, first we have to tier rank our episode. Hot shit, full bouquet. I love that journey for me. Ew, David, shit out of luck. Of course, right now our full bouquet is pretty darn full. So what do you think, Stuart? Where does your gut tell you to put this one?
Is there really a question? Hot shit.
I mean, we have to
top of the pile.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry. Yeah. We're doing a podcast here. I don't know.
Oh, let me think about it.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny was really kind of, stole the phone, and Bob was really mean, and I guess
Stop it. Bob was great.
And he didn't jog. He didn't give us a Bob jog.
If he doesn't jog soon, I'm not going to make it. No, this is the top of the pile. It's the number one. It's number one. It's the best. It's incredible. It's high. We have it higher than open mic and pregnancy test. I think for obvious reasons. I think every single storyline hits, and there are multiple warm and fuzzy moments, and multiple moments you're dying laughing. Like how is it not number one? I don't know how it's not. It is.
Yeah. No questions. Like I knew it immediately upon finishing. I was like, this is the best episode of the season. I mean, unsurprising. We know that Schitt's Creek do finales so well.
They know how to do it,
yeah. I just really like the season.
So good. Well,
it's good.
We have one more episode before we finish out the season, and that it is a little special. Merry Christmas, Johnny Rose. So we'll talk about that one next week, of course, with the number one Johnny apologist, Johnny lover, however you want to phrase it. My husband loves Johnny so much. And then after that, we'll wrap up season 4 before diving into season 5, the penultimate season of Schitt's Creek. Can you believe it?
I can't. It's going so quickly.
Yeah.
We've been doing this over a year now, Jess, and it's flown by. Of course, like it feels silly to like get a bit reflective because we're not finished with the season yet. Like we do still have the special, we do still have the wrap up, but still, look at us. Who
Yeah. No, it's been so fun. I mean, we'll talk about it obviously in the wrap up when we talk about this season as compared to the other seasons, but I think you can feel just like they're firing on all cylinders, and it feels unusual to me as a lover of sitcoms for like the 4th season to be the season that is like the freaking best. Like most of the time shows are losing steam by now. And I feel like Schitt's Creek is like, nah, they're firing on all cylinders. They know what they are. They know how to write these characters, and they're showing it's almost like the tiny incremental moments of growth are just adding up for all these characters to really be like all of a sudden we look around and we're like, holy shit, we're in season 4 and everyone is incredible.
It's just so great to see. And also, like, I've been saying it the whole time as well, because every time we've had a guest on, everyone's been like, oh, it gets better and better. It just gets better and better. And I was like really skeptical at first, and then things did start getting better and better. And it's like it's just snowballing. And it makes me more and more worried that, like, I don't know, maybe season 5 or 6 is going to be a stinker. But based on what everyone has said, that it's absolutely not, and it it lands everything so brilliantly. I'm just like I just resent the fact that I have to wait week on week to watch every new
I
episode.
know.
It's torturous, but I
Well,
love
the
it.
good news is, as soon as we're done here, you can watch the special. You could celebrate Christmas in March. So get excited about that. In the meantime, if you're a fan of The Last of Us and you've seen the trailer for season 2, it's coming up soon. Check out our podcast, Look for the Light, because we're talking about every season of episode 1 leading up to season 2. We're going to have some between season bonus content where we talk about the full season, the full game 2 before season 2 comes out. We'll talk about the trailer, all that fun stuff. So if you're looking for something grittier, darker, sadder, not the podcast isn't sad, but the game really sad. Go check out Look for the Light. That's where you can also listen to us. If simply an hour a week is not enough for you of us, go check out that podcast. I don't know if there's as much conversation about what's British and what's American over there. We may do that sometimes. I can't remember. But walkies
Just
is
start
now something
shoe-
I will be using.
We just start shoehorning in some Britishisms. Like,
Yes.
why is Joel not going for walkies? Like, what the hell?
I still can't get over walkies. So yeah, in the meantime, follow us everywhere at Talkin' Shit. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, because once we get to 200 subscribers, something good's
Jess
gonna
is
happen.
getting waterboarded.
I'm not getting
I'm changing it. I'm
Oh,
getting rid of
God.
the we. Yeah,
Now we're
I'm like, no, it's
guaranteeing
Jess
that
now.
I alone have to be waterboarded. But until next week, everyone, warmest regards.
And best wishes.
Tweet us on Facebook or leave us a review, and you say, yeah, okay, I think I will.